For 150 years, Ghana's Supreme Court has shaped laws, defended the Constitution, and delivered some of the nation's most important legal decisions. Yet many people still misunderstand how it works. So, as we mark this historic milestone, let's put some common beliefs to the test. Number 1. Myth or fact? The Chief Justice decides every case at the Supreme Court. This is a myth. The Supreme Court cases are not decided by the Chief Justice alone. Instead, they are heard by panels of justices. When the Chief Justice is a member of a panel, he presides over those proceedings. If he is not sitting on the panel, the most senior justice on that panel presides. But here's the important part. Every justice on the panel has one vote, and no justice's vote carries more weight than another's. The decision of the court is determined by a majority of the panel. Number 2. Myth or fact? Supreme Court justices serve for life. This is a myth. Unlike in other jurisdictions, Supreme Court justices in Ghana do not serve for life. Under Ghana's constitution, the justice of the Supreme Court must retire on attaining the age of 70 years. This means that every Supreme Court justice retires at the age set by the constitution, and they do not sit for life. Number 3. Myth or fact? The Supreme Court can reverse its own previous decisions. This is a fact. While the Supreme Court generally treats its previous decisions as binding, it has the power to depart from an earlier decision when it considers it right to do so. This allows the court to correct errors or adapt the law when circumstances require it. And when the Supreme Court makes a decision on a question of law, all other courts in Ghana are bound to follow it. Number 4. Myth or fact? The Supreme Court is the place to go when your human rights are breached. This is a myth. If you believe your human rights have been violated, the first place to seek help is typically the High Court and not the Supreme Court. The High Court is where many human rights cases begin. The Supreme Court's role is to give the final word in important questions of law in respect to the Constitution and hear cases that come to it on appeal. So even though the Supreme Court protects the Constitution, it is not always the first court you go to when your rights are affected. Number 5. Myth or fact? One Supreme Court case can make laws. This is a fact. The Supreme Court does not make laws in the same way that Parliament does. The power to pass laws, that is acts of Parliament, belongs to Parliament. However, a decision of the Supreme Court can change how a law is understood and applied. In some cases, the court can also provide an answer where the law does not clearly address a particular issue. A good example is the sharing of matrimonial property after divorce. Through its decisions, the Supreme Court has helped shape the principles used when deciding how property acquired during a marriage should be shared upon divorce. Number 6. Myth or fact? The Supreme Court can stop the president from doing something. This is a fact. The president, like every other person and institution in Ghana, is subject to the Constitution and must act in accordance with it. When the Supreme Court interprets the Constitution and finds an action does not comply with it, that decision must be followed. The Supreme Court's role is to ensure that no person or institution is above the Constitution, not even the president. Number 7. Myth or fact? The Supreme Court only deals with political cases. This is a myth. While some Supreme Court cases involve major national issues and political questions, the work of the court goes far beyond politics. The Supreme Court hears cases involving the Constitution, rights and freedoms, commercial disputes, and many other important matters that affect individuals, institutions, and the country as a whole. The Supreme Court is not just a place for political disputes, but it is where important questions about the law, justice, and the Constitution are decided. I hope these 7 issues help clear up many doubts that you had in your mind about the Supreme Court. Let me know any more you have in the comments.